Hello, and you're very welcome to the Indo GAA podcast. Delighted to be back for the new year, and delighted to be back and joined by John Mullane. We'll be looking towards the football club finals at the weekend and looking back at the club football finals tomorrow with Pat Spillane. But it's all hurling today. John, how are you getting on? Happy New Year to you and all that. Give me one prediction, John, for the new year before we kick into the show.
Oh, geez, you'll have to land that on me. One short prediction. I think UL will definitely win the Fitzgibbon Cup. You're a UL man, aren't you?
I am.
Did you see their team?
Yeah.
Did you see their team on paper last week?
Do you know what though, Mull? I've often seen it. They had an unbelievable team on paper.
Yeah,
two years ago, and Mary I beat them. So you wouldn't know. Mary I are a decent side. They tell you, Galway are a good side now as well, from what I saw last week. So, you know yourself, an old dank kind of a pitch, heavy conditions. You just wouldn't know.
Jeez, I remember. I was kind of doing my. I was in phase 6 of electrical. My electrical apprenticeship, and played with WIT. And Colin Bonner came in, and Colin Bonner was the manager. Now, WIT had serious teams back then.
Yeah.
But I never really kind of trained with the lads. But so I kind of want really trying to get into kind of the spirit of the the whole ethos of the competition. But I remember going up and playing. We were playing LIT up in LIT.
Was your buddy on the line? He was.
Oh, he was. Well, he was the manager, all right, yeah. But Jesus Christ, it was fair and tense up there, and geez, they had a serious team. It was actually Shane McGrath actually married me the same day. Shane hurled me up and down the field that day, and Jackie Tyrrell was, I think he was full back.
Oh, that was they went on and won it. I think that year.
They went on and won it, yeah. But we actually, and back then it was a straight knockout. That was my only experience of Fitzgibbon.
It's gas you saying all about LIT. We played LIT in LIT in a knockout Fitzgibbon game, middle of LIT rag week, and there was a little rope kind of cordon off the pitch, and I remember I went to hit a line ball, and you're like, "Jeez, is somebody going to jump out on top of me here?" I don't know how I actually got the ball off the ground, because you're just thinking, you're kind of looking around you, and there's everyone on top of you, and you're really expecting anything to come in on top of you. It's mad stuff.
And it's mad. It's a bit like the FA Cup last week, where Crystal Palace got knocked out against Macclesfield, and Crystal Palace are so used to playing on lovely pitches that have, a carpet pitch, big stadiums, and next thing you're going to a little shitty stadium. I wouldn't say a little below par stadium like Macclesfield. Everyone is in on top of you, and that's the only way you could describe it. But you're 100% right. I probably spoke too soon. It is that type of competition where sometimes the best team on paper don't push on and win that competition, because you can get stuck.
It's funny you said it there. The spirit is massive, and if you were only dipping in and out, like half the thing with a college thing, or more than half the thing, are like the nights out and lads getting to know each other, because you don't really get to train hard together. So, not saying you go on the beer hard, but those are the sessions where everyone gets to know each other and the bond is built up kind of after, when you're on the road after a league game, or on the road after a Fitzgibbon game or something like that. So it would actually be difficult just to bounce into the team or whatever.
Yeah, but I found it. I didn't even train. It just rocked up for the match, and I just thought, this is, this is going to be relatively easy. Geez, I want long finding out how difficult it was on that day. And as I said, how intense it was up in that venue in LIT. And look, that's what you do. But back then it was a straight knockout competition. You lose, you don't get a second chance. But yeah, I might actually talk to some of the inter-county players at the moment. The way the season is panning out now, and the structure of the season, some of the inter-county players are actually kind of finding it difficult to get in and train with the Fitzgibbon team. So I think some of them are kind of nearly just a bit like that now. They're kind of showing up for the matches, which is a pity, really, too.
That's not really what the Fitzgibbon was about. Usually you go into that kind of bubble for 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, and you just kind of play mostly Fitzgibbon, but it's gone the other way now. It's just, I suppose pre-season competitions are going to...
You loved it, did you? You loved it,
Oh, I did, yeah. Jeez, I did, yeah. It's gas, Mull. I actually never said it to you. When we were freshers, all the talk was that you were doing that electrical course in WIT and that you were going to be playing freshers for WIT. That was all the talk going around. And you'd hear all this stuff and all rumours, and it was before social media or anyone knew anything, so it was just kind of rumours emanating here and there. And we thought when we were going to be playing WIT then that you'd be rocking in corner forward or something like that, and you know what I mean, that kind of crack. But very, very simple times. Mull, obviously we'll look back at the intermediate and junior club finals from last weekend a bit later in the show, but looking ahead to this week and this Sunday, just firstly before we start, even just talk to me about, even from your own experiences with De La Salle, what did preparing for an All-Ireland club final mean for you? I know it didn't go the way you wanted it, no more than when we played with Burr in 2008, but like, what did it mean even getting ready for a club final with your own? What did it mean to the locality, etc., and everyone kind of descending on Croke Park for the day? Like, it's there's nothing like it, really.
No, and I suppose back then, I suppose the club finals were on Patrick's Day, and I suppose, look, you know, when you were growing up, you know, you were always watching the club All Irelands. I suppose I'd go back to the club All Ireland when Glenmore beat Patrick's Well in the final, and you know, I suppose, you know, Titchfield, I remember Titch used to play for Kilkenny. He'd be a relation of ours, so you know, I you know, back as young lads back then, that was kind of my first real kind of experience of club All Ireland final day when Glenmore beat Patrick's Well in the final. I suppose you're looking on then through the years, through the 90s and watch, you're kind of saying, Jesus, wanted to be, you know, would you ever dream to even, you know, get to a final and to participate on Club All Ireland final day, which are club on St. Patrick's Day? That was, you know, the dream for every young kid growing up, playing with their club, and then finally get there. You know, you're kind of saying, Jesus, dreams come true. And unfortunately for us, you know, we came up against a juggernaut in Portumna team that were, you know, really in you know, at the peak of their powers. And for us, it was nearly a David versus Goliath match. You know, we were. I wouldn't say we were never going to win the match in my eyes, but in my eyes, I wanted to go up and have a right crack at it. And we probably made a mistake going into that final. You know, we changed the structure of our team around. I remember we had in the build up to, we had a meeting. Owen Dunphy was the manager, and Brendan, God be good to him, who was a big part of us getting over the line in 08. You know, he was the coach, and I remember, you know, he came back in 08 and you know, played a huge part in getting us over the line. But I remember, you know, in the build up to it, to that final, you know, we changed our whole setup, our whole structure of the team up going into that final. You know, Bull was playing brilliant hurling in midfield. Kevin Moran was Lorna at centre back, and Ian Flynn was our fullback was going really well at fullback. And I remember we changed the whole. I think Portumna were after beating Ballyhale comprehensively in the semi final, and Brendan, you know, will be a big figure would have been a big figure in Ballyhale. Kind of, I'd say he was kind of taken back, saying, Jesus, you know, we've got to shore it up. You know, maybe go with the extra body at the back. But we changed our whole structure of the team. We put Moran back, full back on Cannon. We put Ian Flynn back out centre back, and we put Bull back as the sweeper. And then we went with five up top. And I remember arguing with the lads and saying, look, lads, please, can we not just go and have a go? Right? We're probably not going to win the match, but I want to go up and have a right crack at this. And probably got outvoted. And after 10, 15 minutes, the game was over. And look, unfortunately, in the second half, when we went back with Ian fullback, Kevin centre back, the Bull in midfield, and went 15 on 15, we actually competed very, very well in that in that second half.
Looking back at it, you'd rather have went with what she had gone with, and if that didn't work, then change that.
Yeah, well, look, hindsight is a great thing, but that's probably the regret that I would have on that day.
Well, come here, just like a segue here. It's not gas. Like, imagine Tip had been blown out of the water in the All Ireland final last year, and everyone would have said, "Actually, we never should have changed our setup. We never should have played a sweeper." It's not amazing how the narrative changes based on them winning the game. Like,
yeah. And look, I mean, the aftermath. I mean, the result defines everything, really, doesn't it? Like,
yeah.
you know, I mean, it's all about the result and how you perform. And you know, we didn't perform that day, and I don't think we were set up in the right way that we were ever going to perform in that right way, particularly in the first half. But going back to it, it was just a magical day. I mean, you know, the whole build up to it. You know, I mean, even back then, AIB were the still are the sponsors, and I think the winners got, was it the winners got 34 grand, or the runners up got 18 grand. You know, and that's a massive amount of money for any club to get, because you know yourself, it's very difficult to raise the money. And I'll never forget the bull got a sideline cut, an unbelievable sideline cut against Cushendall in the semi-final. Now, it must have been about 50 yards out.
I remember it. Yeah, I remember it.
And it just took off in the air to level the match. And Sir Canning was popping him over for fun. And the bull says to me, you know, and we were guaranteed to get 18 grand, you know, in prize money for getting to the final, no matter because runners up are going to automatically get 18 grand. And remember the bull saying, "Hey kid, Joe Cannon never got an 18 grand cut over that."
And their dollar bills falling out of his shorts.
Stop. But even the whole build up, you know, lads getting the excitement of getting the tickets, getting the bunting, getting the colours, you know, even preparing for it, you know, lads really excited, going up on the train, coming back on the train. It's just a magical couple of days. You know, unfortunately, we didn't get the right result. We didn't come out the right side of it. But I can only imagine what it's going to be like for both Loughrea and Ballygunner this weekend. You know, if either are to prevail. But there's huge excitement building down here in Waterford, particularly out around the Ballygunner area of the city. You know.
We went up the week, I think it was the week before, and I still can't get my head around this crack, right? We went up to Croke Park because there was, listen, most of the lads would have played in club finals. I wouldn't have played in one, but there was me and a couple more maybe that wouldn't have played in Croke Park. And this nonsensical rule where, like, we went up to Croke Park for the day. It's basically a day out, and took a day out of our training almost to go up there, and you're not let onto the pitch, and you're not let carry your hurl, and it's like, you're kind of just like, what's the point? And like, this really annoys me because, like, I know these guys have way higher profile or whatever, but you see, say, Neville, Carragher and Keane on the overlap, but they're allowed puck around and take shots in Croke Park with TJ Reid and Jimmy Barry Murphy looking at them, and we're getting ready for a game the following week and we're not even let onto the pitch. You know what I mean? And even, like, you see before an All-Ireland final, lads can walk out, you know, before they come out to do their warm-up, but they're not allowed to carry their hurl onto the pitch. And it's just, I can't get my head around this kind of crack. Like, they're, you know, as we were at the time, you're the main characters in what's going to unfold on one of the biggest days of the year, and you're not allowed to have a few pucks. It's not as if we're going to go, like, making big divots in the pitch and trying to cut line balls over from the middle of the park or anything like that. I just could never get my head around there's some GA rules that I still can't get my head around.
And there should be an allowance for that, you know, in regards to whoever's playing in the final, whether it be 30 minutes, whether it be 25 minutes, whether it be 20 minutes, you know, 40 minutes. As you just touched on, like, once you're not doing, you know, a warm-up down one section of the pitch where you're going to cut up the pitch, it's more kind of just get out, find your bearings, you know, couple of, you know, strikes across the pitch. And even if it's a game for, you know, an A versus B game for 20 minutes, you know, for the best part of, you know, taking everything into account, maybe for 35 minutes. I think that should be taken into account for, teams that are partaking in an All-Ireland final, whether it be at club or inter-county,
Yeah, well, anything can be better than not being able to carry a hurling, not even being able to have a few pucks.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember back. I think we went up our first year in 2002 against Clare. I think we played an A versus B match on semi-final in 2002. I think we got on in 2002, but I think after that, I think they cut back.
You ruined it for us all, Mull. I don't know what you did.
I think if my memory serves me correct, I'm nearly sure we got up. We got in there for an A versus B game for the All-Ireland semi-final. But after that, even 2004, 2006, they kind of tightened up on it, So I think we went up on one or two occasions like that, where we just kind of took in the surroundings, but we couldn't get onto the pitch,
Just looking ahead to Sunday's game, well, huge game, obviously. Ballygunner against Loughrea, as you said. Before we get into the actual game, Ballygunner are going to be in the boardroom up until maybe throw-in time by the looks of things. Cullen Killeen was sent off at the very end of their semi-final against Schlockneil for an off-the-ball incident with Brendan Rodgers. He was before the Central Hearings Committee last Thursday night in Croke Park. My understanding is that Brendan Rodgers and Paul McCormack, the Schlockneil manager, were both actually in attendance in Croke Park to give evidence in his favour. I think he was, the referee's report, Johnny Murphy's report, had him down for striking with minimal force at the very end of the game, and he got a straight red, and they were much the better team in the semi-final, but that completely soured the result, and I'm sure that carried into Christmas or whatever. They're going to the Central Appeals Committee next. That'll be over the coming days. If that doesn't work, then they'll be going to the DRA, which is basically the last resort, and that will be literally Friday night or potentially even Saturday night. Not exactly the ideal scenario to be going into a final mode, and I think his participation or him not playing in the final is, whether he plays or whether he doesn't play, is huge, because I was kind of saying to you there a couple of days ago, Mull, if you were playing corner forward or an inside line with this lad delivering your ball, I couldn't get over just how good his deliveries were the last day. He was putting the ball on a plate for Anthony Burns and the boys inside. And I think he's a massive, massive player for them. He's only 19. As we're talking here now, he's going to miss the All-Ireland Club final based on something that, by all accounts, TG Carr didn't catch it. Nobody seems to have caught it. If Brendan Rodgers goes up and speaks for him and says that nothing happened, then it's basically Brendan Rodgers' word against Johnny Murphy's. But there's I think there's been an edict in the last 12 months where the GA are backing referees' decisions almost no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now look. I'm going to speak up for this lad. And look. I've spoken to one or two Ballygunner lads, and there was one genuine Ballygunner lad actually said, I won't mention his name, actually said to me, I would actually like to see the kid playing, and he's probably trying to put himself in his shoes.
Oh yeah.
You put yourself in the shoes of this kid. He's 19 years of age, right? Can you imagine the emotional impact it's after having on this kid in all through Christmas, as you just touched on, the whole way building up? Do we ever take that into account? Because I'm trying to take myself back to 2004 when I was sent off, all right? And it did impact me. And even to this day, I look back with great regret in regards, Jesus, what could have been if I would have played in that All-Ireland semi-final against Kilkenny, because our team were flying it. I was flying it that summer. But I held my hand up and said, you know what? I'm going to take my punishment, because, mine wasn't minimum force. I struck out, and it was the height of stupidity what I done. Now, in this case, this kid, Johnny, has it down for minimal force. Brendan Rodgers and the Schlockneil manager are coming the whole way down from Derry to speak up for this kid. And I just think, will we ever see a time where the emotional side or the emotional impact that it could have on this kid going forward, not just this year, but for the next couple of years? And I just think, that has to be taken into account as well. Now, look, it's 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 a tricky one because he doesn't have any. We don't have any video evidence to.
And this is the thing, Mull, that I think that's why it's going to be so hard to get it overturned, because unless they prove that some sort of due process wasn't followed, or the case was taken about wrongly, or they made a mistake or something like that, and that could be something as simple as something not being in Irish or something like that, but unless they can show video evidence, and a lot of the time it has to be official video. It can't be Mull in the stand. It could be a perfect video from you in the stand recording the last couple of minutes of the game, but that's not admissible evidence, if you get me. Do you know what I mean? So unless they have official video, which they don't, it's going to be hard to get it overturned.
Yeah, it is, and I even take you back to 2017 when Conor Gleeson, remember, minimal force in that All-Ireland semi-final with I think it was Patrick Horgan. Was it Patrick Horgan? Jesus, what a price to pay. And I even look back then. I firmly believe if Conor Gleeson was available for that final, I think we would have won that All-Ireland final. He was a loss. And as you just touched on, it could potentially be the difference between Loughrea getting over the line and not getting over the line, and hence why they probably feel, that they're going to fight it all the way to the last minute.
Isn't it a tricky one, Mull, because you want to do your best by him and really go after that, but you also want to make sure that the eyes remain on the prize and that this doesn't become a circus as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, look, but you can turn it the other way too, and you can kind of make it as a motivating factor. And in regards, we're going to do it for this kid.
And that has happened before. Remember going into the 06 All Ireland, JJ did, I don't know, did he do his cruciate or did he do his knee or something?
Yeah.
And all of it, you're looking at it on paper and you're thinking, sure, how can Kilkenny stop Cork 3 in a row and they're missing one of the best defenders ever? And it obviously was a motivating factor as well.
Oh, no, look, I'm just seeing it from an overall point of view. Look, I'm a GA man. You're a GA man, and Jesus, I mean, you put yourself in this kid's shoes. You put yourself in this kid's shoes. You be the mother and father, just say, right? And his brother he's a couple of brothers.
Yeah,
the older brother. So you've one lad going off playing an All-Ireland.
There's two brothers, yeah, two brothers.
Two brothers going off playing an All-Ireland final, and the other kid ain't going off playing the All-Ireland final. So I think sometimes that has to be taken into account as well. But I just think from the whole emotional side of it, particularly when Brendan Rodgers and the Schlockniel manager are coming down and arguing the case that there wasn't a whole lot in it. It'll be very interesting. Will they take that into account and maybe say, look, Johnny, we're going to give this kid a chance. We're going to give this kid an opportunity to play in an All-Ireland final, albeit we're probably going against the grain.
I can't see it.
Well, look, either can I. But it's very disappointing. It's very disappointing as a whole for this kid.
Just Mull, you mentioned about the emotional impact. I know of a county player that was sent off, to me, completely in the wrong. Young county player that was sent off in the wrong in the last couple of years, and you're going from just focusing on going training and going hurling and playing a match to all of a sudden being sent off on a game that's recorded on terrestrial television. Your name has been spoken about in a light that you've never had to deal with this before. You feel your game just disintegrates. You're afraid to almost tackle. You're listening to what people are saying. It's not like, imagine if you'd searched your name in X in 2004, if it existed, imagine the amount of commentary that would have been around that red card. Luckily enough, you didn't have that, but players have that now. If something happens, they're everywhere. Oh, X is a clown for doing what he did, or X was harshly done by, or whatever it is, but you're still being discussed over and over and over. You're the topic of conversation by people you don't even know. It gets in on you. It's only natural. Unless you're bulletproof mentally, it's going to get in, and it's going to affect your game. It's going to affect your personal life. It's going to affect your day-to-day life as well. And it's particularly with young players who've never experienced this type of thing before.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, you don't know, and I don't know what that kid is going to. They're probably going through the last 3-4 weeks. I'm sure now, as you just touched on, it's definitely had an impact. I'd say he's probably after ruining his Christmas, because he's probably going into the unknown. Well, am I going to be playing? Do I have a chance of playing, or am I just totally being written off? And I suppose, what way would he have approached, training over Christmas, or did he train with the team?
But there's one. Are you technically allowed to train with the team? Or are you suspended? We won't get into this kind of crack, because even like with a manager being suspended, like technically he should not be taking training or be at training technically under GA rules. Now whether that happens or not is another story altogether.
Look, I'm sure he was training away in the off chance that he might get off. But I'll take it back to 2004, and we had a 6-week period between the Munster final and the All Ireland semi final, and my head was gone. My head, I'll be straight up. And I remember, I was kind of half in, half out. I remember Skin Ryan kind of coming up to me and saying, Skin Ryan was selector at the time. He's saying, "Look, you're training for an All Ireland final." But I found it very, very difficult, because it was a big time period between the Munster final and the All Ireland semi final, and I kind of found it hard to kind of keep myself motivated.
First couple of weeks might have been okay, but then it's like, oh God. Whereas maybe you're better off taking off the first couple of weeks and then been a month in or something. You know what I mean?
That's it. So, like, from a motivational point of view, how is this kid even motivated himself the last 3 weeks? He's watching his teammates train away. They're all pumped up. They can't wait. They're ready for an All Ireland final. And here's this lad nearly half dejected, going into training. So that's nearly another punishment in its own right. So it'll be very interesting to see what plays out. But Jesus, look, I'm a GA man. I think everyone would love to see this kid take to the field on Sunday.
Yeah, if he is out, or even if he is playing, hopefully, I'd hope that he gets off, but I just can't see it. Darren Shaughnessy obviously didn't start the semi-final. I'd imagine he'll be back in, and what an addition to come back in, especially when you look at some of the scores he got in the county final. Just from a Ballygunner point of view, Mull, they can say whatever they want and look at their Munster record and that, but they badly want this second All-Ireland. They badly want it. I know even from a Thomas's point of view, they got their first All-Ireland in 2013. They didn't feel like they were going to be spoken about as one of the great teams until they got that next All-Ireland. And I'd imagine that's something that's stuck in Ballygunner's craw as well, and that they want to get that second All-Ireland. And in fairness, they have good memories. Like, it's been semi-finals or it's been Munster finals where they've lost. The one time they got to an All-Ireland final was when they won it, and they definitely don't want to be known as one-hit wonders in finals anyway.
Yeah, well, look, I suppose the Ballygunner machine, if you want to call it, I mean, that's what they're probably built on now. Is that's the probably currency that they're going after now, is winning All Irelands, putting themselves up with the Port Humlas, the Ballyhales of
the Burrs,
the Burrs of this world. I mean, they've broken all records in Waterford. They've broken all records in Munster, and I probably feel it's one record now that they probably feel that they have to go after, is to try and get up that roll of honour in winning All Irelands. And I suppose, look, the one thing that they have in their favour, albeit they've only won one All Ireland, they've only competed in one All Ireland, and they've won from one, so that will stand in their favour going into this final. They don't have any bad memories of losing All Ireland finals, albeit it was a great way to win that final. So the last time they've been in Croke Park on All Ireland final day, they've great memories to go off it, and I think that will stand them in good stead going into this final.
The semi-final as well, Mully, I imagine would stand them in good stead too. There were 8 points to 5 down the early minutes of the second half and just completely took over against the Martins team. It didn't look like what unfolded. It didn't look like that could happen. I think they have 14 out of the next 15 points or something like that, and almost one pulling up, having gotten an unbelievably stern test for 40-45 minutes.
Yeah, well, I was actually at that match. Actually, done the radio co-com with Pádraig for that match, and the first half an hour, it was fascinating the way it's played out.
I just said something to you, Mull, isn't it great to see? I was covering a game elsewhere and it was like 6-4 at half time, and I go onto Twitter and everyone's saying, what a game of hurling, this is unbelievable, the hits. I'm like, 6-4, what's going on here? But it just goes to show you that you don't need like 15 points to 14 at half time for it to be an epic and a struggle.
No, and it was 4 points to 2 at one stage after about 20 minutes. And if you just touch on it, if you weren't at the game, say, oh Jesus, that must be a dour game. But I was at it now, and to be up in the gantry and to be looking down, I just thought it was so fascinating in the way, they were kind of, as I touched on in the lead up to that match, there were, Mountains were kind of a mirror of Ballygunner and how they set up, and it was always going to play out that way. And even when go back to our county semi-final with De La Salle and Ballygunner, sometimes if you're going to take on Ballygunner and you're going to try and beat Ballygunner and take them on, sometimes you have to go and break away from the way you like to play and kind of take on Ballygunner in kind of a tug of war out around that middle third. Now, sometimes it can't be pretty on the eye where you're going back, forward, you're retaining the ball, where there's bodies everywhere around that middle third, where I think in that match alone, in that Mountains match alone, I think I counted that there was anything up to, between 20 and 24 bodies all out around the middle third. And it was nearly like a game of open possession out around there. And, sometimes it's nearly like a game of rugby where, you go back, you go forward, you go back, you go forward.
And it's the gas, Mull, if you can get through the congestion or get over the congestion, it's like everybody's concentrated there. And then there's like these open planes inside for the lads. If you're able to get the ball in there, that's the hard part, obviously.
That's it. But unfortunately for St. Mountains, they just weren't able to keep it going. They kind of they ran out of energy, and they probably had a couple of opportunities where, particularly where they may have been given a penalty before half time, or the goal could possibly should have stood, and probably should have went in at half time, maybe 4 or 5 points up rather than 2 points up. But the beautiful thing about this Ballygunner team, they find a way. They find a way, and they don't do panic. They don't do panic. And that comes from experience, where they could be 3-4 points down, going into the closing quarter. They don't do panic. And I actually seen that for myself in the county semi-final this year, where we were 5 points up. We had them by the throat. We were a man up. And Ballygunner stuck to the process, stuck to the plan. Their structure didn't change, just kept tipping away. And one thing they do, they keep going to 62, 63 minutes. And if Loughrea are to have a chance the weekend, if they are to push on and win this match, I think they're going to have to raise a couple of green flags. I think they're probably going to have to get definitely 2 green flags, because I would imagine Ballygunner will hit that 21, 22 point mark,
How do you see it going? It sounds like you're leaning towards Ballygunner. I think Cullen Killeen, whether he plays or not, is massive. I just think, because I think his forwards will bear fruit if he does play. I don't know if will get the same type of supply, that lovely sympathetic diagonal ball into them where they can get a ball, go on the outside or go on take their man on. I think his presence is huge, but I'm probably leaning towards Ballygunner anyway at this stage.
Yeah, so am I, because I just think they're they can hurt you from all over. They can hurt you in the full forward line. They can hurt you in the half forward line, midfield, even even from the half back line. Ronan Power is coming up the field. Harry from wing back. Can we go back to that? You're talking about memories in Croke Park. You know, remember when Harry got that goal against?
I looked at it again the other day
against Ballyhale. So they can hurt you from all ends up, and they can toy with you. Now look, it'll be very, very interesting how Loughrea approach it. But I just think, Ballygunner, particularly after that county semi-final, the last time they got as I touched on before, the last time they got a fright in Waterford was in the last time they pushed on and won the All-Ireland. Mount Sion should have beaten them in the county semi-final. And I just think after that fright in our county semi-final against us, I just think it poked the bear, and I just think they've been, tunnel vision in where they want to go. They wanted to push on and win another Munster. And I think they've tunnel vision and pushing on and trying to cement that second All-Ireland. And I see them getting over the line by 3 or 4 points,
There should be a cracking game in Croke Park on Sunday, and we had two absolute belters of games last Saturday night in Croke Park. The junior final between Kilbrittain and Eastkey ended up 19 points to 18 in favour of Kilbrittain, even though they had two extra men. Well, one extra man for the guts of about 20 minutes. I know that's something you want to talk about, Mull. Like Eastkey were probably the better team nearly on the balance of play, but they lost Andrew Kilcullen after 40 minutes, and the head high incidents, they're not going away. But like, to me, he was so close to Mark Hickey, he almost turned into him. I can't see how there could have been an intent in it. To me, it was a yellow card. Like, he didn't even have the chance to. There was no raised arm from what I could see anyway either. I looked back at it several times, and to me it's not a red anyway. It's not a red, and it changed the course of the game. Like he had 15-77 scored in the 7 games going into the All Ireland final. He had a couple of points raised. Fair enough, he had a couple of balls dropped short as well. But Eastkey probably would have won the game if he'd remained on the pitch, and it was a massive call for Eamon Furlong to make.
Well, Michael, we're back here again. And we'll be back here again in the summer talking about, there'll be one incident in the summer where it'll be borderline. Is it a yellow? Is it a red? Is it a sending off? You can take yourself back to Chris Crummy last year. You can take yourself back to Richie Hogan in 2019. And to this day, the Tipperary lads probably won't like me for saying this. And I stand over, I said at the time, for me, that wasn't a red card, the Richie Hogan red card. And I just think the time has come. We're kicking the can down the road. I'm not saying we use it, constantly every 5 minutes. But for incidents like that, where the referee is unsure, and I know Eamon Furlong. Eamon played the match. Eamon played the match at a very high level. I think he's a very, very good up-and-coming referee. I think he'll do an awful lot of the big games going forward into the future. And he was unsure. Hence why he went over and he asked his linesman, well, what do you think? And the linesman gave his opinion. And unfortunately, I'm sure the linesman said, well, look, it's a red card. But if Eamon Furlong is unsure, I think he needs assistance. Go over to a monitor. You were able to. I was sitting at home on the couch. I was able to see it. I was able to make up my mind. Say, I looked at it once or twice, and there was no intent in it. There was no intent. So, for me,
the thing about that, Mull, is, right, people would say, how do you know there wasn't intent in it? I just think he was that close and turned. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't really know how there could be intent in it. Do you know what I mean? It's not like he lined him up from 10 yards back or something like that and raised his arm. Do you know what I mean? I just think he turned into him, and it was a clear yellow.
I think it was more nearly a coming together, heads clashing. But that assistance should be there for Eamon Furlong to say, right, we're in Croke Park, a little video. He goes over to his linesman. He's still not 100% sure, right? he gets a little thing in his ear, right? You want to come over to the TV screen because it's a big call. It's a big call in the context of where the match is going to, in what way the match is going to play out. He goes over to the TV monitor, has a quick look at it, whether it's TG4 or it's RTE or our friend GA Go. He has a look, and then he can clearly make a decision, saying, right, I'm 100% sure that's a yellow or that's a red. And for me, it wasn't a red. And I think the Easky lads can feel very, very hard done by. And as you said, it changed the course of the match because he was a massive, massive, massive player for him. And it's disappointing for those lads from Easky. Now that's not taking anything away from Kilbrittain. I mean, you've seen the scenes after.
Savage, wasn't it?
I mean, Philip Wall and the embrace with Jamie. I mean that would, you know, you'd be taken back by that. And what a speech he gave. Well, I mean, probably one of the best speeches I've heard in Croke Park in a long time. Really, you know, you're at home and it nearly touched you. Like I wouldn't know a hell of a lot about Kilbrittain, and you know, he touched everything. He touched everything, and but yeah, from an Easky point of view, Jesus, it wouldn't have been some story if they pushed on and, you know, won an All-Ireland Junior title, but to bring it back to Sligo. And but Jesus, some of those lads were real to hurl. The Callies. There was a lad, McHugh, was it McHugh centre back?
Very good player. Probably the best player in the pitch, I'd say, yeah.
Jesus, he'd grace any inter-county team around. But yeah, a really cracking game of hurling, cracking spectacle. And, you know, fair play to Kilbrittain. You know, it puts hurling in West Cork on the map, and it's great to see, you know.
There's a couple of good stories came out of it. I was chatting to Dennis Hurley beforehand, and sure he would have met Dennis at different stages, kind of a freelancer, and he works with the Cork Echo, but his brother was playing full back and his brother-in-law was managing the team, and Dennis was up in the press area reporting on the game of his own club. Like, I don't know how he kept himself together, but he did, and there was a great video going around. The Kilbrittain boys were in celebrating, and an Upper Church fella he needed to relieve himself, and he was close to the Cusick stand, so he just ran down the steps and ended up running into the cubicle, and the Kilbrittain lads must have been like, here, come on, we'll make a good scene here. So they gave him like what do you call it, a guard of honour coming back out of the toilet, and someone videoed it. I just thought it was brilliant, and it was funny because they'd obviously have not an association with them, but they were both wearing black and amber in Croke Park as well, and that leads us nicely onto that intermediate final. Like, oh my God, what a finish to normal time, with Upper Church kind of, you know, getting a draw when it didn't look likely. Now, what a finish to extra time. Tureen were dead and buried, and then all of a sudden they threw a couple of balls into the mixer and they made it fair dramatic. And then you had Fergal Boland's attempt at the end that just skinned over the bar. Jesus, like, you rarely get two finals living up to the billing, and in Croke Park, and you want, you know, the best of hurling to be highlighted on the big day, but by God, they fairly delivered.
Oh, jeez, but the last three.
Oh, yeah. He did something
something
similar, Mull, I think, against Ballina to keep them in the Tipperary Championship.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden they go the whole way, and now they're gone back up senior after winning an intermediate club All Ireland.
Jesus, what a blockbuster of a free. I mean, that's Anthony Daly-esque fucking 1995 against Offaly. You know, really standing up when your team needs you to. But Jesus, I mean, you look back at the Tureen, or Jesus, they had the opportunities near the end. The one that hit off the post.
Yeah.
And you're just saying on the last three, you know, they need to commit. They had bodies around you, man.
They stole a couple of yards on the free, the cute Devils as well. The lining on the pitch, I could see the linesman standing. It was exactly on the line. And then your man hit the free, and it was like, he definitely moved it 5 yards up and 5 yards more to the middle as well, and he got away with it.
But even like the Upper Church for 9-2 up, and I was saying, oh, geez, they're going to walk this. Next thing, score score, and some fantastic scores from out the field. But again, as you just touched on, what a story that would have been for if they would have brought back an All Ireland to Mayo. But I just hope from both Easky and Turin's point of view that that they don't lose players. The difficulty now of losing players to lads going away on their travels. I would love nothing more to see both those clubs coming back, getting back on the horse again and having their day in the sun and finally getting over the line, because Jesus, some of the talent, and just goes to show you, Michael, that hurling is alive and well in some pockets of those counties. And I just think that these competitions have been a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, brilliant.
Both the junior and the intermediate All Irelands since they came into play. Not nearly back 20 odd years ago.
When Sean Kelly, the GA president at the time, pushed to bring them in, it's an All Ireland junior semi final. You had the Sligo champions against Donegal team in Burt. That's the dream scenario. A Sligo team getting to Croke Park for the second time within 3 years. Themselves and Turin both played in the finals in I think it was 3 years ago, 2023 or 2022, I'm not sure. But that's the dream scenario. You have a Mayo team coming up against a Tipperary team. Tip team's used to Croke Park. You have a Sligo team coming up against a Cork team. Cork team's used to winning in Croke Park. That's the dream scenario you want. It's brilliant. And it's great that teams a little bit lower down have something so big to aim at. It's not just senior, because if it was just senior, it would be lost in just the big boys, shall we say.
Yeah, and you just touched on it earlier. I mean, how fantastic it is, even from the supporters' point of view. I mean, you've seen some of the scenes, on the TV there the weekend where that chap who passed away, that Oisín Gillan.
Yeah.
Gillan, and the TV cameras went on his parents and his family, and the emotion that that they went through when the final whistle went. I just think it's fantastic. And even the aftermath of the homecomings, you've seen with some of the videos going around of the young Gaeltacht boys in the Boar's Head there yesterday. And
Kilbrittain had 540 people in the Crown Plaza on the Saturday night after the game, a big banquet, and they were going doing it, win, lose or draw, they were going doing it to celebrate the year. But just chatting to the manager after, there literally must have been one fella going around Kilbrittain checking on all the houses, one person that had to stay at home to make sure everything was safe, so that there wasn't how should we say, some Gadi Oscuelga going through the village or going through the town, making sure that it's not easy pickings. But it's just everybody from the area descends on the capital, and it's just, you can't buy it.
But isn't that just the romance of the club game, going right down to the junior level, you know what I mean, and seeing what it means to so many of these communities across Ireland. It's fantastic to see.
Yeah. Well, we had lots of other things that we were going to talk about. Time is against us, so we'll chat a little bit about Laura Tracy and David Burke when we come back maybe in a week or two, and we're chatting more about county action. But I think it's fitting that, given that we probably won't be chatting club for a while, one of the biggest days in the calendar was last Saturday. One of the biggest days in the calendar is this Sunday, the biggest day in the club calendar. We'll leave it at that. We'll do this as a club pod alone, and we'll get to the county stuff in a couple of weeks or something like that, when we're only chatting about county. Is that fair enough?
Okay, buddy.
Yeah. Well, great stuff as ever. We'll talk to you soon. Cheers, pal.